Hi, I'm Joe Solari, and this is The Business of Writing. Today's guest is Michael Cooper, the main writer and architect of the Aeon 14 series. You may also know him for his book, My Facebook Ads Suck, or saw him speak at one of the conferences that he's talked about Facebook advertising. We'll talk a little bit about that, but the main reason for today's interview is to talk about Michael's series, the Aeon 14 series, to expand that. He's done some amazing stuff. He's got soundtracks, he's got special edition books, he's got lookbooks of the artwork, all to expand the user experience. And we talk a lot about how he's doing that, the benefits of it, and we share a little bit back and forth about some things that you can do with direct sales. I think you'll really enjoy this one, and so let's get right into it. All right, today I've got Michael Cooper. He is known for his books on Facebook ads and his numerous military sci-fi books, the Aeon 14 series.
Yep.
There's more than just that series now, isn't there? Or that's the big...
That's the umbrella over everything.
Yeah. So, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. So we met just about a year ago at the 20 Book Show, and I got to hear you talk about Facebook ads, and it was very impressive. I actually watched twice. You actually had two. You had like a big show, and then you had the side show.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wanted to have you on to talk about, a year later, kind of what's new with Facebook and some of the things you're doing. Mm-hmm. As we discussed before we hopped on the call, the record button, I've put together a book about nurturing your fans and building a direct sales platform and building out ways to make more money than just selling books. Mm-hmm. And I'm really impressed with what you've been doing the last, has it been 12 months? Even
about that. Yeah.
So maybe we start there. You talk about how you've gone from just writing books to building a brand and a content empire.
Yeah, so I guess what I wanted to do, the thing I'm making, so you mentioned it's called Aeon 14. Aeon 14 is sort of the umbrella name for the universe that I've created. And what I realized back in, I think it was actually in the late, very end of 2016, was that if I really wanted to make it easy to market a brand and to sell my books without having to like treat each series and or any standalone book like their own separate marketing funnel, I wanted to make it so I just had one massive marketing funnel so that everything that I did would drive readers toward the same pool of content. So that, and so what I actually did is I took a series that was going to be a long running series and I broke it in two. So they had a 3-book trilogy, and then it had another series that's going to end up being 12 books. And then book 3 on that 12-book series, I broke it apart even further and I spun off multiple other series as well. Because I wanted to make it so I could market all these different books on their own. Because it's very when you're writing a series, it's very hard to market anything other than book 1. Especially I write like a serial series, so you have to basically read book 1 to keep going. They're not standalones like say like a lot of thrillers are. So I broke it apart more and more, and I also did because the story I want to tell is massive. We're at we're right now published. There are 52 titles in Aeon 14, and by the end of the year we're going to have over 70. And so I've even brought in co-authors and whatnot because I want to build out this story to the point where it'll have a lot of different content in it that appeals to a lot of different people. And that's everything from straight up military science fiction books to romance books. We're going to start having some YA books in the mix. And there's books that are more gritty. There's books that are less gritty. We've actually even got some cozy mysteries that fit into the universe. They're books that the characters are reading. So, cool. Yeah, because all these military characters don't want to read about military stuff. So they read these cozy mysteries about this pair of twins that run a pub on a space.
Reminds me of in The Watchmen, the comic book. You remember it was actually a comic book in the comic book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's really interesting that you're doing that. Have you seen any results from that you're pulling in those readers from, I guess, cross genre?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, right now it's mostly focused on subgenres within science fiction.
Okay.
But like I have one series which is called Rika's Marauders, and it's more of a gritty cyborg type of series. And there's certain people who like reading that sort of thing, and it's drawn in a lot of people into the universe that wouldn't read more, are less interested in big scope starship type science fiction. They want more ground battles, more gritty stuff like that. So they'll read those books, and it's brought them over into the other books as well. It also allows me to experiment too. Like some people respond better to more plot-based ads or more plot-based covers. So a plot-based cover would be something like a starship, flying towards a planet. Whereas a character-based cover would be, a person on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
So certain series actually have different styles of covers that focus on grabbing different types of readers who are interested in different types of things. Because what I realized, and I've known this for a while because I've worked building products and advertising products for some time, is that certain people respond better to different things. Mm-hmm. And so if you can make one product that works for multiple different cohorts of people, then you're in a much better place than if you had if each product only really appealed to one group and you had to make a new product to appeal to another group. So I work pretty hard to make it so that by putting everything under one umbrella, I have a scenario where I can grab people all sorts of different places, the types of things they like to read, the types of covers that interest them, and bring them all into the fold. And once they realize that they love the characters and the story, then they just spread out and read the whole thing.
How are you tracking all this stuff?
I'm not a lot anymore because it's gotten really complicated to track. It used to be that, it used to be the read through was linear, but now it's not. I mean, now the read through can go any which way. So what I mainly do is I just track the results of any given advertising campaign that I'm running.
Okay.
And every advertising campaign is focused on a particular series, and usually the first book in that series. So I can track that and make sure it's good. And what I do is if I sell a book to someone and they read everything I have, right now my royalty share will probably be about $130. So I sell a 99-cent book, and over the course of the next year or so, that I'll probably get $130 from all if they read everything. But what I assume that maybe my cutoff is 5 books. So I base everything on a 5-book read through. So I'll make sure all my ads are profitable within 5 books. And most of them are profitable within 3 books. So I do pretty well in that respect.
So, and when you say that, you're talking about, you're basing that on read through, but since you're doing some of this other stuff, the lifetime value of a customer could actually be more, right? Because they
I've got a music album now that I did with Nick Thacker, for example. And that album, I did a sort of a Kickstarter style thing for it, but I just did it all right on my own website, where people paid via PayPal and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And the deluxe package got you a special edition of the book. I think I actually have one of them handy here. So this copy of the book of OutSystem is only available to people that bought the deluxe version of the album. And they also got a CD, because I realized that CreateSpace can make CDs. I always seen it there, but I never tried it. So I actually have a CD that people can get, and they get some custom art and stuff like that. And they paid $75 for that. Mm. So it's a book that they've already all read and already all own in many cases, and a good whack of them paid $75 for it, which gave me enough money to kick off the whole process with Nick for making the album. And now the album's available on Spotify, it's on Amazon, so it hasn't actually become profitable yet because it's pretty darn expensive to make a music album. But that's not it's not really my primary goal with it, to be profitable. It was more to spread out and have more content in different areas.
Well, wouldn't you say that's also similar to an audiobook where you have a pretty significant upfront investment and then it pays off how you use it?
Yeah.
Because I know Nick's costs. I've talked to Nick about that.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, he's ridiculously affordable when you consider that he's producing an entire, 40-minute album, and he's composing everything, he's making everything, he's mastering the whole thing. Like, there's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. So it's a good deal in that respect, but you have to be prepared to market a different thing.
Sure.
Before, or have an audience large enough. But I've only been sort of mildly pushing it. I'm going to start pushing it a lot more when I have. I'm actually going to have him do some more songs. So once I get some more songs, some more follow through, then I'll start pushing it even more. But you're right, with audiobooks, a lot of times you put on an audiobook and you sort of hope that eventually it'll become profitable. I mean, some people do very well with audiobooks. Mm-hmm. I feel like they're outliers by and large.
Yeah.
People always say things about audiobooks. I say it's the fastest growing segment. I'm like, yeah, if it grows from 1 to 2, it's the fastest growing segment. Doesn't mean it's a
sure.
huge
That was for a long time. Singapore could say that about its GDP, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
Well, because you've got that large upfront cost, with it's kind of mushy numbers, but do you have a feel for like margin wise selling that book for $75? Like either like a margin or kind of what you thought was like a break even. Like if you sold X, you would then cover those costs. Or
I mean, I only have to sell 40 of them for it to be very profitable.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't sell 40 books at $75, although people are still buying it. I put it up on Etsy now, and I still have people buying it. Mm-hmm. And with all the people that have actually bought the $10 version, I mean, people can buy it direct from me. Mm-hmm. Etsy actually has a way of delivering digital content now. So if you buy the album from me for $10 on Etsy, I get a lot more money than if you buy it on Amazon or something like that. And a bunch of people do, and Etsy just delivers them the MP3s, which is pretty sweet, actually. So I expect that probably in a couple of months, it'll actually have broken even. And then from there, it's all gravy. But the other thing, of course, it gives me more to talk about, too. Like the fact that I have all of this content, I have all these books coming out, means that I can email my readers every week and talk to them about new content, about new things, or even just talk about the process of making the album, or stuff like that. Like I've always got stuff to talk about, which is pretty important.
Well, and there's two things that I think are fundamentally important about what you're doing, and that one is you're going from a mailing list to a customer list. You actually have customer information at the credit card level.
Yep.
Right. And number two is you've now figured out there's somebody that loves you enough to spend $75 with you in a pop.
Yep. I've actually got readers who want a hardcover version of some of the books, and they're willing to pay over $150 for it.
Mm-hmm. So now, in fact, I talk about this in the book, is like you do the math on that now that you know that, and you figure you've got how many books? 50, did 52. You say?
Yeah, 52 right now.
So there is probably somebody out there that is a collector that is prepared to pay you, maybe $5,000.
Well, I had a guy who I was just sort of surprised it happened. I priced it too low, but I had a guy that ordered a signed copy of every one of my books. And it was well over $1,000 Canadian to get him those books, and he just had no issue with it whatsoever. I expected him at one point to balk, but he's just like, nope, whatever. Do you want me to pay US or Canadian? I can do either one. It's like, okay, let's roll.
Yeah. Well, I heard a guy speak, and he does exclusive tennis events, and he talks about the experience economy and selling a high-priced event. And he said he realized he was underpricing his event when the people were spending more money traveling to the event on their private airplanes than he was with their ticket, right? So,
right. Yeah. But
he was selling a thing where people were paying like, $15,000 and they were playing tennis with tennis pros, right? And having that you're on the tour experience, but like the people that are in that, they own their own jets.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for them, $15,000 is a no-brainer, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
There's other things I'm doing too. Like I've actually, so a lot of my readers mentioned that they only ever get the ebooks. They almost never even see the covers, and if they do, don't see them in color. So I made this book, which is the first edition. I'll be making 4 of these, and it's all of the covers in the series, and then with explanations about the process for finding the art and everything like that. And then like full page versions of all the covers and whatnot without any text on them. And these are actually surprisingly cheap to make. I can sell this thing on Ingram I make it through Ingram. It sells on Amazon for $19.99, and I make almost $12 a sale.
Nice.
Because they're just not that. They only cost, if I buy them bulk, they cost me like $4.50 a pop or something like that for 84 pages of full color. And I've got a hardcover version as well that only costs I think $10 a pop. So pretty good. And Ingram was I tried to do it through CreateSpace, but they were being so finicky about the margins. And Ingram is just like, yeah, whatever. You give us a PDF, we'll print it. So I went with them for it.
Interesting. That's good to know. My wife, she does fashion lookbooks. So she does look like T-shirt handbook. She just did one Curvy Girl's Guide to Style, and they're all full color photograph stuff. And
yeah.
We've been doing them through CreateSpace, and it hasn't been a great experience. So
The thing with Ingram is you do have to pay $25 for to upload the book, and then you have to pay $25 if you want through distribution channels, and you also pay $25 if you change the book. So you have to make sure that you're prepared to move enough of them to be worthwhile. They do sometimes have coupons. Like in July, they waived all those fees.
Okay.
Well, in July, it didn't cost a thing, and I think right now, or it might have actually ended in August. There was no charge for changing a book. So if you keep an eye on the deals they run, you can mitigate that cost quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where similar deal where like it was an ebook for years. She started doing this a while ago, and then it was like, well, we'll try printing it. And when we saw the price we'd have to sell it at, we're like, nobody's going to buy this book. Wrong.
Yeah.
There are people that just they want the book.
Yep. I have a bunch of I do a bunch of my omnibuses in print versions, and they sell, some of them sell for $32, and people buy them. A surprise, like sometimes I'll sell 10 or 15 a month, and I don't push them at all. They just I only market the ebooks, and someone just must have found the ad for the ebook and saw the print copy. I mean, traditionally published wise, I think it was 4 books for $34, which is actually a pretty good deal, in print world.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't expect anyone to buy it, and sure enough, they did. I'm not going to get rich off of it or anything, but for the amount of effort it took, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's surprising how easy it can be. And one of the things I talk about is you can sell a book, even an ebook, as long as you're not violating any terms of services. It can be as simple as just putting a PayPal link in your email list, right? And you can get a little more sophisticated, hook it up to BookFunnel so it serves up the books.
Yep.
But the real point of that is you do that on your list, and all of a sudden you have this segment of people that are your customers.
Yeah.
Right? And you can treat them differently, and you'll be surprised. I was certainly surprised. There was people that were on my list that had just come in through like a free offer, and they bought a book like that. Yeah. And I would have assumed that they're just going to be freeloaders, but they weren't.
Yeah, I think there are some, but there are others who aren't. They use free lists as a way to try stuff out.
Exactly, and I think I'm talking about it from like kind of philosophical thing. Is everyone's like, I want to prune my list to get it down. Well, instead of looking at the bad apples, figure out the really good, tasty, juicy apples, and keep talking to them. And guess what? As you're focusing on these guys, those other guys, they're going to fall away by attrition because you're not focused on free or the stuff that traditionally they're interested in.
I find that most lists self-prune pretty well. And there was actually a point where I did remove a bunch of people from my list, but I could actually tell that the reporting wasn't good enough because I saw a decrease in sales, and the next time I sent out an email, and I realized a lot of these people actually were buying. I just had no idea. But there's all sorts of tactics you can use for that too. Like you can periodically send out text-only emails that ask a simple question that requires a response or engenders a response. And as soon as those people respond to your email, their mail software doesn't put you in the junk anymore. So there's ways to do stuff like that to make sure that you're actually getting a good engagement from your list and can keep it rolling, rather than just because I think I would have actually dumped 7,000 people if I followed just the whole prune it methodology. And instead, I think I lost by working the list and trying to find people that were actually engaging with me. I couldn't tell sales because obviously they were also driving through Amazon, but at least people that would engage, I only lost 2,000 people off that list when I finally started to clean it up.
Well, depending on the software you're using. So I use Drip, and they have trigger links in there. So I can actually put a question that's a yes/no question.
Yep.
And what I do is when you click on that link, it has to go to a URL. So I have a thank you page like, hey, thanks for answering the question. That helps me to know you better. But I also pixel that page.
Right. Yeah. Now you have Facebook data on them.
Now I have Facebook data.
Yeah.
Right? And then I can...
I use MailChimp, and I can do stuff like that with MailChimp as well.
Yeah. You have to look at your ESP that you're using. A lot of them have that now, or, if they don't, they're going to have it soon.
But even making that manually wouldn't be too difficult.
No. One of the things I did with my fiction when I was trying to get a lot of reviews when I was first getting started, I had this email where it was like, hey, maybe you didn't get around to reviewing my book because, an illness or, some, bad stroke of luck. And I had more people answer that and tell me their woes, like,
oh yeah,
about their cat dying or whatever it was, right? And then I would reply, and guess what? They would then review the book.
yeah, yeah. You strike up a conversation with them as best you can. Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts about direct sales and what you're planning on doing?
So I want to do more and more direct sales. So too many authors, I think, still follow the whole. They're bowing at the altar of rank, and they're expecting that Amazon is going to sell their books for them. And that is becoming. I mean, that used to be a thing. It used to be that if you sold really well, Amazon was going to pimp you a lot, and you would sell even better. That doesn't really happen that much anymore. And it doesn't happen for a lot of reasons. One of them is just because there's too many damn books. Even if you do really, really well, you're barely noticeable in the 70,000 books that are coming out every month. Whereas it used to be that you were a much larger piece of the pie than you used to be if you were doing well. But now doing well, you're almost not noticeable. So people seem to think that Amazon is going to sell their books for them, but it doesn't happen. There's the phrase sticky that goes around, and I don't really know of anything that becomes sticky anymore. It kind of used to happen where like these lucky confluences of events could occur, and your book could sort of just magically rise up and hang out high in the charts for a while, but that doesn't happen anymore. And on top of that, there's so many books now that becoming high in the charts is hard just because of, it's just a numbers game. 70,000 books come out and they all do reasonably well. The difference between being 1,000 and 2,000 could be 10 books, in sales. And I talk to a lot of authors who sell a lot of books, and they say, like, the number of books you have to sell to be top 100 is way lower than it used to be. And that's just simply because nobody is selling as many books as they used to because of the sheer volume of books that are coming out. So bowing at the author, the rank bowing at the altar of rank doesn't do you as much good as it used to. So people are so focused on rank. They talk about the cliffs and everything like that. I stopped paying to the rank cliffs over a year ago. I almost never even look at my books rank. I'm happy when they get a bestseller tag, but I've had books that only up to 2,500 in rank and made me $9,000, and I've had books that get to 900 in rank and maybe $6,000. So I focus more on sales numbers and money than I do on rank. I really honestly don't even care about the rank. And I know a lot of authors who started a couple of years ago who don't really show up as high-ranking authors anymore, or they don't have books that are getting top 100 all the time. And a lot of them are sitting well over six figures a year now.
Well, I know that too from the authors that I'm working with and what kind of money they're making. And a lot of their books, they're not skyrocketing at the top of the list. It's really that they've got a good backlist.
Yeah, and they've got a group of people that buy their books, and they can email them, and they eat up the book.
Yep.
And that's not going to get them top 100, but it's going to make them a very comfortable and steady income. Steady being the key.
Well, and I think the other thing is when you looked at, you say that. How many books have you put out in the last 12 months?
The last 12 weeks?
12. Well, yeah, give 12 weeks. Just show off.
That's what I thought you said. 12 weeks, 3 months. I don't know. It was maybe like 17, 18 books.
Okay. And then for the last year?
In the last year, it's been 52.
52.
52 books.
Okay.
That doesn't count short stories or omnibus editions or anything like that. That's new titles.
So that's, I think, the other thing that folks need to think about is that, you're not the only guy that's doing that kind of production, right? So the usual mechanics that people go after, like, hey, Amazon's going to promote my newly released book. Yeah, but guess what? There's guys like you and others that are putting out a book a week, right? Yep. So you're staying in that cycle all the time.
Yeah.
That real estate is being taken up by a lot of people. So, depending on what genre you're in and what subcategory, you may never get the taste that you could 18 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And even, like I said, even if there weren't people like me that are doing a lot of books, there's still just the fact that there's so many coming out.
Yes.
Yes. And there's enough books coming out now that a given reader doesn't need to find new authors anymore. Like it used to be back in the day that you could read everything by a given author, or you could read everything by all your favorite authors and then not have anything new to read for months sometimes. And so you go hunting for new authors, but that's not the case anymore. You know, you can find enough authors that are putting out enough books that you'll never need to look for a new author again. And that makes it really hard for people getting into it. But if you're already in the game, then I guess also means you have to keep putting out the content to stay where you are, because nothing's helping you anymore. Which is where, like you said, where direct sales becomes really important, because that's where you get to talk to the customer and you get to make a real relationship with them. You have, in many cases, you have their address. Like I'm going to be sending Christmas cards to everybody that I have an address for, that I ship things to.
That's awesome.
Because I want to keep that relationship going, and I want them to think of me when they think about what they want to buy next. And like along those lines, like in my books, the characters are oftentimes playing this card game called Snark. So I'm actually producing the Snark card game, so that people can buy the cards and play it. And I'm also making another sort of collectible card game as well that people can then buy and collect and play as well. Because I figure the readers talk about these things. They talk about this content. The books are like, oh, I wonder what Snark's like. I'd love to try and play that. Like, I'm going to make that happen. You know?
Yeah. That's it. It's where you start to, you're changing it from just content into an experience, right? It's like,
yeah,
people don't buy a coffee cup with your character's picture on it because they need another coffee cup, right? Like they buy it because for that, right? Like they want that moment where they're drinking that they have that sip that it just reminds them and takes them to that world for a nanosecond, right? When they're sitting in their cube and they look over at that coffee cup and they see your characters on there, it snaps them out of the world that they're trying to get out of, right?
Yeah.
So
that's the whole point. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah, so even the coffee cup is really an experience. Not that you're trying to change the coffee drinking experience, but you're trying to be a little bit more in their day and remind them that, like, hey, at the end of the day, you get to go home and read that next book in the series.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a new one almost every week. So
yeah. And, we may have said it already, but it's like the more you expand that product range, the more you'll find out what customers are prepared to pay, right?
Yeah.
Like, are they prepared to spend $10,000 to spend a day with you? Maybe. Are you familiar with Pat Flynn?
I'm not. No.
Okay. So he's got a website called Smart Passive Income. He's kind of an internet salesperson. He just wrote a book called Let Go, and it kind of explains like him going into entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And he sold the book on Kickstarter, which as an author, you'd be like, I would never do that. Why would I do that? They take 10% of everything.
Yeah.
Right. But like you could get his book for 99 cents, or you could get that same book for $10,000. And the difference was with the $10,000 thing is you got to spend a day with him. Or
it's a pretty good deal.
Right. Like he had like a layered approach from all through these different deals. Right. And I did the math on it. Like if he sold all the things that he had slotted there, it was like $170,000. And by the way, the top $10,000 ones were gone like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Because he's got such a huge fan base. It's like, okay, I want this guy to speak to my employees at this next meeting.
Right.
So, and then he was using it to push other things. Like he's going to have his own conference soon. So you can get tickets, front row seats at his next conference. So it's like you thinking about, you've got all this awesome content that you're in 100% control of. How can you use it to get more and more experiences for those customers?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do stuff like where I've taken a bunch of my prequels and I've got them narrated. And normally you wouldn't do that because it's almost impossible to make a profit off of a prequel that you've narrated. But I put them up for free on YouTube. Because they only cost me about $100, $150 to get narrated, and then I put them up on YouTube, and now I have content to build my YouTube channel up and stuff like that, and I can mention them in my emails, and I can use that as a way to get more people in, and I can do video ads now, advertising this content on YouTube that also runs ads, and so on and so forth. So it keeps everything going.
And I've seen you've done a lot of stuff with ads. I mean, like on your Facebook page, you've got some little snippets. And are you doing some more stuff with like video-based ads to sell your books?
Yep. Yeah, I have a couple of video-based ads running right now, and I think most of the time the ads I see authors do, video ads, I think are bad. They're way too long. They're trying to tell too much of a story in the ad. Your video ad on Facebook should have one sentence worth of text in it, maybe two. And ideally, it should be, I mean, it also depends on where you want to use it, but ideally it should be under 45 seconds long. I've got one that's a lot longer than that, and I use that as part of a funnel, though. But the ad, the ad needs to look good. And there's so many sites out there that have amazing stock video now. Like Video Hive, you can pay $10 and just get amazing stock videos off of Video Hive. Or you can pay more and get them for $50 off Adobe, but I don't recommend that. But I do recommend that people don't start doing video ads until they really have nailed text ads, because your cost to produce a video ad is much higher. So if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to blow a bunch of dough and not be able to get a good result out of it. But one of the best things for video ads is to find the people that are invested. With video, what you can do is you can create an audience that says, give me everybody that's watched more than 10 seconds of my videos. So I have a bunch of audiences. They're all based on how much of my videos people have watched.
Yep.
And then it says, okay, if they haven't seen any of my ads in the last 4 days and they've watched more than 10 seconds of my videos, then show them these ads.
Nice.
So I'm working them through a funnel all the time. And I'm not trying to direct sell off my video ads. I'm more trying to use them as a way to build Facebook audiences of people that are interested in the content. Yeah. And the great thing with video ads is Facebook wants video, so they charge you almost nothing to show them. They're cheap like borscht.
Yeah. What I used was for my pen name. I work with an artist that they take my cover, they basically take all the text off and turn it into a GIF. So they make some cool stuff move on it. Mm-hmm. And I keep it under 20 seconds and run that almost like it's just a print ad, right? Because it's got copy and the whole deal. And to your point, like the impressions cost is so low.
Yeah.
And then I use reader links and track those ads through there. So I know that like I'm getting free clicks on those ads that aren't getting charged. So my cost per click is super, super cheap, like a couple cents.
Oh yeah, you could be sub 10 cents easy on video.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then like what I'm doing is it's kind of tough when you're down in that space, but I'm using that because then I can create that retargeting audience of, okay, they've watched the ad. Now I'm going to put them over in this audience, and then I'll send them more content.
Start hitting them with stuff with more targeted CTAs. Because that's the downside to an ad. An ad doesn't really have a super targeted call to action on it. What I do with my print copy, my copy on all the ads is I actually have a link in the copy as well, so that people who don't realize that they can actually click the ad when it's done playing or click the video to go to the link will actually have a text link there as well, and that actually works pretty well. There's a lot of people that just weren't engaging until I started putting a text link in the copy. Little things like that. Another place I do advertise, I advertise on Facebook and I advertise on Google, but you have to pay a lot more attention to those because you really need to understand your keywords and the value you're going to get from different keywords. But you can do all right. And a lot of it comes down to trying to find new groups of people, that haven't seen you before. AMS is great because AMS is people who are already looking for books, but AMS, the way you target on AMS, it's very hard to find people who aren't already like in the process of buying someone else's book. Whereas, Facebook lets you start reaching people that maybe aren't going to Amazon in the next couple of days, but Google lets you reach everybody that's searching. YouTube lets you reach all their viewers. Another great place to advertise is Pinterest, depending on your genre, because Pinterest has a lot of people using it. And Pinterest, I don't know if you use Pinterest, but they show ads pretty aggressively now on Pinterest. And you can run ads. I have a bunch of ads on Pinterest with a 10-cent CPC, and they spend my money every day.
The other thing that with Shopify, they have a direct link in to make buyable pins on Pinterest.
Oh, nice. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't know if you can do it with WooCommerce, but I know because my wife's Shopify site, she was on it. And that when they put the Pinterest buyable pins, it was like we have to be in that beta group. So,
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's pretty fantastic. I should look into that. I don't run Shopify. I have everything built on my own.
yeah.
But, there might be a way I could squeeze that in.
Well, so let's talk about that for a second. So my nonfiction site I've built in WordPress with WooCommerce,
Mhm.
and WooCommerce has got a lot. Because of the books I sell, I haven't looked at something like Pinterest. They may have a solution, but certainly when it comes to how it integrates with Facebook, WooCommerce allows me to sell directly in Facebook and Messenger.
Mhm.
And talking about ads, I can go to a direct conversion, so I can track to a conversion of a specific product.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
So, what I know you're not doing it right now, but with your experience in Facebook ads, what does that make you think about? And like, what would be your thoughts if you were me about that?
Well, this is sort of what I was starting in when I was talking about not caring about rank that much. Because the only reason why you wouldn't direct sell, to my mind, is if you care about rank. Because anytime you direct sell, you are decreasing your potential rank. But because I don't really care about rank that much, I'm much more interested in finding customers and having a more of a direct relationship with them, and also getting more money out of the deal. I do plan on actually taking all of my books that are not in KU and doing direct selling with them.
Let me just interrupt right there. So I think one point with the KU piece.
Yeah.
There are certain people that may be watching this that so much of their readership is KU that direct selling just seems to be an anathema to them.
Yeah, it seems kind of crazy.
Right?
But KU isn't paying you that much. You may think it is, but it's really not. And I guess it really depends on where you are in your life cycle with KU. When you're first starting, KU is a great way to get visibility and to get readers and whatnot. But once you have readers that really want to read your books, they will buy them. There's some that won't. And there's ways they can still get your books without having to pay an arm and a leg, and you have to work with them on that. One of them being Overdrive. They can get your books for free from the library. Instead of paying $10 to Amazon, they can pay $0 to the library and get the book. And anybody that goes wide, they're putting their books in Overdrive. It's just you click a button and boom, your book's in Overdrive. You do have to ask your librarian to buy it, and your librarian may not. Is I guess the one thing. But there's also others. There's so many subscription services out there other than KU that don't require the authors to be exclusive, that readers don't realize they can just get these books anywhere for free still.
Kobo's got a non-exclusive subscription service.
Yep, Kobo. There's also Scribed, which will get you gobs and gobs of content for a monthly subscription fee. And any author that's not in KU is going to be on those other platforms. So it's not like you have to buy. People look at it as like, okay, I'm paying $10 for KU, and now I'm going to pay $4 for 7 other books. Like, well, no, you're paying $10 to KU, and you can pay $10 to one other service, and then get all the other books as well. So it's not like it's a no-win solution for those folks. So once you educate your readers about that, and you have readers that will also pay, you can do just as well. In fact, you can do a lot better not being in KU, because you make more money on a sale than you do from KU. Depending on how long your books are, I suppose, but there are some points where it crosses over. But I have books that I sell for $4.99, and I actually sell some of them for $5.99, and they're 70,000 word books. I would make maybe $230 on KU, depending on what the rate is, but I make $350 by selling them.
And the point is, you don't have a say in what the price is.
Yeah, and if I direct sell those books, I do direct sell some of them. If I direct sell them, I make even more money. So I actually only have to sell half as many of these books to make the same money as I was in KU. And
for folks that aren't familiar with kind of the economics of direct selling, so if you sell a book with PayPal or Stripe as your credit card processor, you're going to pay 30 cents plus 2.9% of whatever you sold. So now you're probably in the area of 80 plus margin. And even better, cash flow wise, 2 business days, they're depositing that money in your account.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And PayPal, effectively, you almost get it immediately if you're just sending it out again. If you just leave it all on PayPal, you could pay someone tomorrow with the money you got today, which is a pretty good deal. PayPal does charge a little bit more. Like I have some books I sell for 99 cents through PayPal, and I only end up getting about 35 cents off of those for the smaller transactions. They have like a base charge they put in. Yeah,
it's that 30 cents. So like a 99-cent book, you're going to make like a 60 margin.
I only make 30. I only get 30 cents off of a 99-cent sale on PayPal.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's some sort of fee they put in on like on 99-cent things or something like that.
Are you using a personal account or a business account?
The business account.
Okay.
It seemed high. I never double checked it because I'm like, it's 30 cents. The more expensive ones, it lines up properly though.
Yeah.
And I have it connected with BookFunnel, so they click the link, they pay on PayPal, and then BookFunnel delivers them the book.
Yeah. A little aside on that. So with my book, I did a pre-sale on the website. A bunch of people bought the book, and then I released the book. When I put the book into BookFunnel with the WooCommerce connection, once I put it in, it went and looked at my WooCommerce site and sent all those people a link.
Yeah.
So I had nothing to do with. Let me rephrase that. It went and found all those sales and lined them up in the sales window in BookFunnel, and I just had to resend all those people. So it was like immediate release of that book. I didn't have to do any kind of like put a CSV file in and do all kinds of manual stuff.
Right. Yeah. No monkeying around.
Yeah. And with the WooCommerce, once whatever payment processor they use, WooCommerce tells BookFunnel and it shoots it off.
Yeah. They only get the book when they pay the money. So it works out, takes care of all that for you. And the other thing you can do is you can tie BookFunnel into Patreon as well.
Yes.
So BookFunnel basically treats your different Patreon subscriber levels as though they're lists, effectively, just like if you had it tied into your mailing program. Mm-hmm. And so I have content that I have books that my Patreon folks get for free. So whenever I release one of these books, I put a link up on Patreon, and then when they go to get it, BookFunnel double checks that they have the right Patreon level, and boom, it gives them the book as well. Awesome. So and that one is like it's a $5 book, and I release one every 3 months. But to get it, you have to be a $5 a month Patreon subscriber. So even if they don't buy it on Amazon, technically, and they understand I'm not trying to fool anybody. The readers could do math. They can understand they're basically paying $15 a month or $15 for this book when they could have bought it for $5, but they do it because they want to. And a lot of them still buy it as well on Amazon. Because once you find those super fans, like you were saying before, when you find those super fans, they will give you. They love you. They want you to keep writing. They will give you more money. You just have to have some way for them to do that.
Yeah. I kind of sent you off on a diversion there, which is a good one, but we were talking about Facebook and direct sales, and you were saying like your plan was you're going to start. That's where you want to go is direct sales, and so.
Yeah, well, I guess I kind of wanted off because I kind of view my Patreon relationship as a bit of a sort of a direct sale sort of scenario. I'm basically running my own subscription product. It's like my version of KU, effectively. Mm-hmm. But I have more information about those people, and I get the money a lot faster than with Amazon, for example. Mm-hmm. And I think that so what comes down to is I don't care about the rank. I just care about number of books being sold and more information about my customers and be able to direct sell to them. So yeah, it makes perfect sense to start doing as many direct sales as possible through Facebook, through my mailing list, through Patreon, stuff like that, through Etsy. Etsy is a great way to sell books. If you don't want to worry about setting up a whole selling, you don't worry about WooCommerce, you don't want to worry about credit card processing or anything like that. You can get an Etsy account and sell signed copies of your books on Etsy. And now, boom, it takes you, it costs 20 cents to list a book, and you just have to take your regular website, just put links into your Etsy store. And now you've got that going for you as well. And the great thing with something like Etsy too is people trust it. It's a known retailer, so you don't have to worry about any trust issues with people putting their credit card information in. Yeah,
that's one of the things I've discovered with selling direct now for 7 months. Probably 3 to 1, the transactions are PayPal versus anything else.
I would imagine, yeah.
And I think it's people just trust it, they use it. That money's treated a little bit different. It's kind of slush fund money, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But yeah, even though you can use a credit card or anything else on the WooCommerce site to process, it's always 3 to 1. It's PayPal.
Yeah. I don't know too much about the actual mechanics of selling directly through Facebook itself, though. I assume that you're saying that there's a way to do that where I can actually have them handle the transaction and.
So what happens is you have a plugin with WooCommerce where you've probably seen it when you've been in the ads piece where it's dynamic ads.
Mm-hmm.
So you're basically your product catalog on your website becomes a product catalog in Facebook.
Right.
And once they have that information, they can either process that on their own site. More often, though, they're just sending you, because they're processing it at Facebook's kind of weird.
Okay.
Right? They're like there's been a lot of talk about them, doing subscription stuff for groups, and I think they have some beta stuff they're doing, but the sale.
If they did subscription stuff with groups on Facebook, I would be ecstatic. That would be fantastic.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're actually testing it out already.
I guess if they do it, it doesn't suck. I'll be ecstatic.
Well, yeah, I did. But you think about it from their perspective, they've saturated the advertising.
Yep, they totally have. They need new revenue streams.
They need a new revenue stream. And what do they see? They see folks sitting around with, 20,000 people in a group, and they know those people are selling them stuff.
Yep.
Right. So they are going to start, if they can pick up 2% processing that stuff, they're spending $1 billion.
Gravy for it.
Yeah. But so here's some things that I can do with the direct sale concept now. So I can create the ad where it's going to be a conversion, where I'm going to send out an ad, and what I want to see is somebody buy a specific SKU on my website.
Right.
I can retarget if they've put the product in my cart and not close the sale. And then when I retarget, I can also show them other things dynamically from my catalog. So in your case, like, I don't have a lot of books. Here we go, Doug. But in your case, let's wait till the mailman leaves.
You set your clock by it, eh?
I could. Like in your case, with so many books, you could actually set up like groups, like, okay, this person has bought this book. Yeah, so I'd be real interested, like how you would think about advertising with those kind of features.
And the one thing that's a little bit tricky for me was the amount of content I have. Doing stuff that targets specific titles is kind of, it could be exhausting. I could spend a lot of time on busy work that maybe doesn't get me too much of a result. Mm-hmm. But I could certainly see myself doing it for advertising first in series. And if someone buys that, then I start showing them the other books in the series. Mm-hmm. And then I guess I would have to have it set up with SKUs and whatnot. So I'd make sure that if I sold them book 2 and 3, I stopped advertising book 2 and 3 to them, and so on. But I think that could work. What I would probably do more is, I would say, if they bought books in this series, I would then start marketing other entire series to them until they bought the first book in those series. And that'd be something that I could manage without having to deal with a lot of really nuanced configuration for all the different books I have. But I think that's something probably right now I'm not paying too much attention to stuff like that, because I've only got one series out of KU. But as I bring more and more books out of KU, then that's something I definitely will be thinking about is ways to sell as direct as possible to everybody I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. No, very cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've covered a lot of stuff.
We have.
Good stuff, though. Any kind of thoughts on where you see the industry at?
Well, I guess one of the things I wonder about, when I see all of the books that are coming out and how many are hitting the shelves, I wonder if it's getting even harder for new authors to break in to writing these days. I mean, we see some who do, but it's not like it was even 2 years ago, where if you kind of knew your stuff halfway, you could sell a lot of books. Now I see people that do everything they should be doing, and they just really can't move a lot of books. So I wonder if the market's going to get saturated, because basically what it comes down to is something I always say is there's only so many people who read books. They only have so much time, and they only have so much money. So I think there is a saturation point for the market. I don't know what it is, but I think it does exist. Every market has a saturation point. And when you hit that saturation point, what's going to end up happening? And I suspect that what's going to happen is that anybody that doesn't have the stamina to keep putting out a lot of books and to sort of wait it out is going to stop producing books, because it's just not going to be no way that it's going to be profitable for them. Although a lot of people produce books right now and it's not profitable anyway, so it's hard to say exactly what will happen in that respect.
Yeah, that's one that's interesting, because there's something innate with people. They want to write books because there's a lot of the majority of books on Amazon don't make money.
No, they're in the red.
Yeah.
When you consider editing cost and cover cost, they never actually recoup their costs.
Yeah.
But it's so maybe it won't. Maybe it'll just keep growing. But the problem is, at a certain point, that means that no one will be able to make a living off of writing anymore. If an increasing number of people just keep putting out more and more books all the time, it'll be so hard for you to actually find readers, because they're going to be spread so thinly across so many books. Although on the flip side, there's probably also a limit to the number of people that actually can and want to and actually can write a book. So it could be that the authors top out before the market does.
Yeah, I think that this is an industry that's maturing.
Mm-hmm.
Right, just in the time that I've been kind of hanging around the hoops here, it's changing quickly, right? And where you could see people could jump in and jump out of genres easily.
Yep.
Or, I can throw out a series and it can have kind of a crappy cover and maybe not such good editing, and I could do really well. There's I would put you in this category, folks that are very serious about their business and they're creating a business around the content. It's not just about writing books, right?
Yeah.
This is one of the legs of the stool. And I think that's an important thing to understand, is that, I talk about it a lot, is like Disney paid $4.8 billion for Marvel. Okay.
Yeah.
The core content was created 70 years ago, almost, right?
Give or take.
And those guys were paid per page drawn and had no rights to that work.
Yeah.
Right. And along the way, comics came in favor. They went out. They got into other medium. Even under Marvel, they went out of business, where they went into bankruptcy, came out, and somebody paid $4.8 billion for them. And why was that? Because they know that intellectual property is worth billions of dollars.
Yeah, and they've proven it quite well that they can just print money with that.
Yes. Are you familiar with the Sony Disney deal for Spider-Man?
I am, yeah.
So, and they give up box office receipts just so they can get the entirety of the merchandising.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Think about that.
Yeah. The merch is worth a lot of money to them.
The merch is worth so much more. Right?
Yeah. I don't know if getting books to that point is pretty hard, I think. But I think it's possible, to be honest, or it's possible for the merch to become a significant leg of the stool.
Well, I think where I'm getting at with it is, in your case, it's like it's the intellectual property, it's the content that is the value. You've figured out how to monetize it with books.
Mm-hmm.
You're figuring out how to monetize it with merchandise. How you choose to do that, but it all still boils down to that creativity that you came out of your head and you've probably been thinking about since you're in 5th grade, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
See, the teacher told you shouldn't have been daydreaming. Now you can go back, show her your 1040 and say, that's what my daydreaming got me, lady.
That would be kind of satisfaction. I would get a lot of satisfaction out of that. I probably won't do it, though.
None. All right. Cool. Well, it's great having you on, Michael.
Absolutely. It's been a blast.
Yeah. And I guess I'll see you in Las Vegas.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just, 6 weeks or so?
Right around the corner.
We'll be hanging out, having drinks.
Yep.
That's what we do, right? That's what Vegas is for.
Yep. That's what it's about. All right, man.
Absolutely. Ciao.
Ciao. Bye.